Graduate student professor/advisor wanted to introduce his son to me. In desperation, I pulled a handsome guy from the street. Professor/advisor. This is the boyfriend I just found. The handsome guy looked at me with a confused face and then at professor/advisor. Dad? As a graduate student in science and engineering, I was the only girl in our lab. On the first day of the semester, professor/advisor took my hand and said that he would introduce his 58. Good-looking, well-built senior son to me. This a science and engineering straight girl resolutely refused. After that, professor/advisor talked to me many times. But I didn't agree. Laboratory organization dinner. Professor/advisor put hard words or find a boyfriend to come. Or else add his son friend. I stood in front of the restaurant meeting pacing. Do not know what to do. When I was worried, a handsome guy stood in front of the restaurant and kept looking around. I seemed to have a solution. I jogged to his side. Handsome guy. Do you have a girlfriend? He glanced at me. No. I clapped my hands. Well, isn't that a coincidence? I'll give you one. After I said that, I took him into the restaurant with my arm. He tried to shrug it off. No. I have to come to see someone else. I patted my chest. You help me stall someone. I'll help you find the person you're looking for. His head was full of black lines and he wanted to push me away. But I pulled him tightly and didn't push him away. It's not like I can't read. I don't need you to find someone. As soon as his words fell, I had already dragged him to the door of our lab's private dining room. Just as I pushed open the door, the senior lab members all stirred up. Let's see if our junior lab member has brought a boyfriend or is waiting for the professor to give a blind date. Because the graduate student professor/advisor was responsible for almost all of our expenses and occasionally paid a little salary, we all called him Professor. The entire private dining room fell silent when they saw that I was holding a handsome man on my arm. Senior lab members turned their heads cautiously to see professor/advisor's reaction. I pulled the handsome guy a few steps towards the private dining room. Professor/advisor. This is my new boyfriend. Handsome. Held by my arm. Looked at me and then at professor/advisor. Opening his mouth, he said, Dad? Dad? I couldn't help but repeat. The handsome guy I randomly pulled on the road was actually my professor/advisor's senior son. Didn't I say he was studying abroad? Professor/advisor suddenly smiled and beckoned us over. I was thinking of setting you up before. When did you guys secretly get together? No wonder M/Emma never agreed to me giving her your contact information. The handsome man pulled his arm out and looked at me with a raised eyebrow. When did you get together? I think it was about 5 minutes ago. Since I had just said we were boyfriend and girlfriend. My mentor was self-conscious enough to seat Handsome and I together. During the meal, I was having a great meal when the handsome guy brought his head over and whispered in my ear. My name is Liam Lin. I heard them all call you M/Emma. I'll call you that too. I stuffed my mouth full of meat, not being able to think about talking. I just nodded my head. He added, since we're both boyfriend and girlfriend, shouldn't we get to know each other? I nodded again. I heard him say that he had just returned to China a few days ago. And that he planned to stay and work in China from now on. By the way, he told me what scholarships and honors he had won abroad all these years. I was unimpressed. Until he said he had 23 sci papers. All of which were first works. I admit that my heart was moved. I grabbed him by the arm and said, in the most highly pitched voice of my life, Honey, I love you. Honey, I love you. He was speechless for a moment and gave me a chopstick of meat. As cheesy as you are. These papers have nothing to do with you. Oh. I let go of his hand and continued eating. But the corner of his mouth brought an impish curve. Future ones can be relevant. I didn't believe he would be so kind. Especially when paired with his bad smile. Seeing that I was ignoring him, he seemed to speak to me and then to himself. If someone wants to be called honey all the time, this kind of betrayal of character is something I would never do. But if it's for a thesis, why not? I don't know why the professor/advisor is so happy today. But he keeps drinking. Finally, he got himself drunk. Liam Lin helped Professor/Advisor up with great effort and carried him out the door. I watched Professor/Advisor's footsteps were quite steady. But somehow he collapsed when he reached the door. His punk-ass son didn't hold him up either. How can I let Professor/Advisor fall to the ground and fall into a dog's ass? I ran up a few steps to hold Professor/Advisor. I took a few steps and ran up to support Professor/Advisor. But when I did so, Professor/Advisor's hand tightly tugged on my clothes. Liam Lin spread his hands and said, "Help me help my dad to the car." Behind me, a bunch of senior lab members were just standing around watching the fun. None of them were willing to help. The most senior lab member looked at us and greeted the rest of the lab members. "Professor/Advisor is drunk. His old man will go back first. Let's continue to drink. Come on. Come on. Let's go." Me. Okay. I'll have to sacrifice myself for others. Liam Lin and I helped Professor/Advisor to the back seat. And Professor/Advisor directly lay down. Now that we've helped him to the car, there's nothing left for me to do. Satisfied, I turned around to leave, only to have Liam Lin tug on my sleeve. Looking at his sincere eyes, I felt vaguely uneasy. What's wrong? He was busy letting go of my sleeve. Somewhat embarrassed. "Do you know how to drive?" "I've been abroad for a long time. I'm not very good at driving a car at home." I nodded. "Then you find a substitute driver." He scratched his head. "I don't know how to use the domestic software very well. I'll call one for you." Sigh. "Okay. Honey. I can drive." I got into the car. Liam Lin was sitting in the driver's seat, playing with his cell phone. I could see that he was playing with the software. As a good guy, I helped Professor/Advisor upstairs. Professor/Advisor yelled for water. Liam Lin pointed to the water fountain. Emma helped connect it. "I'll go find some sobriety pills." After receiving the water, I carefully handed it to Professor/Advisor, fearing that he might scald himself. He took the glass of water with a shaking hand. But he couldn't hold it steady and spilled the glass of water all over me. I rushed to the bathroom, lifted my clothes and saw that my stomach had been burned. Liam Lin heard the commotion outside and ran into the bathroom. "Are you all right?" I hurriedly put down my clothes. "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine." He smiled. "It's a small matter." Suddenly there was a gust of wind, and the door to the bathroom slammed shut. Liam Lin tugged at the handle and it came off. He looked at me slightly innocently. "It's broken." Before I could react, the Professor/Advisor yanked on the doorknob from outside the door. "Ah. It's broken. You guys wait. I'll go find a locksmith. I should be back in 3 or 4 hours." 3 or 4 hours? Liam Lin nodded to me. "He's old. He's slow." But the sound of his footsteps on the way out didn't sound like he was slow. The space in the bathroom was small. And he and I didn't have our cell phones with us. So we could only stare at each other in disbelief. "Well, why don't we do something?" I asked Liam Lin. He looked at the toilet and then at the shower head. "Shower together? Or poop together? There really isn't much of an activity that two people can do together here. In the bathroom, I sit on the toilet and Liam Lin crouches under the shower head, leaning on their chins together in contemplation. Emma. "I kind of need to go to the bathroom." I nodded. Truth be told, I want to too. ID had quite a few drinks during the meal, and had been holding it in for a while. But at a time like this, it's really a bit embarrassing. How about no? In the end he just couldn't hold it in anymore and looked at me almost pleadingly. Or, "You first pretend to be my girlfriend for a night, so that if you hear words should not be too embarrassing." Big brother. How dare you think of that? But it seems like there is no better way. I covered my ears and retreated to the corner. He sat on the toilet for a while. But he didn't come out after all. He thought it might be too embarrassing because I was there. So he adopted the turn a blind eye approach and started singing to himself. But I can't say I was impressed with his voice. He wailed for a while. And I finally couldn't help it. If I let him sing any longer, I might lose my ability to take care of myself on the spot. Brother. Stop wailing. If you keep wailing, I won't be able to wait for you to send me Psy. He finally shut up and squinted at me. If I don't solve it, I probably won't be able to wait for you to send me a Psy either. Well, I compromised. Go ahead. Then. He held some more. But still couldn't solve it. Why don't we get to know each other a little better? Brother. How can we get to know each other in the bathroom? Besides, what's the point of getting acquainted with each other at a time like this? I hugged my body and took a step back, shaking my head vigorously. I don't. He saw my alert face and said incredulously. You don't think I'm like forcing myself on you, do you? I nodded. He scratches his head helplessly, scratching his hair out of place. With this face of mine, I'm really losing out on anything, aren't I? Not only is he brainwashed, he's also a little too self-absorbed. Emma. I just want to know a little bit about your past so I don't feel too out of place as my girlfriend. But I think it's weird. I shook my head. He ignored me. Started to tell himself about his past so that it wouldn't be too abrupt for me to think of him as my boyfriend. After he droned on and on, I really didn't find it too jarring. And even thought he could be my BFF. I came over to him and squatted down next to him and tapped him on the shoulder. Sister. Have you been constipated lately? He first looked at me in horror. Then nodded seriously. A little. I slapped his thigh so hard that the crisp ringing sound traveled through the bathroom. Me too. This was followed by a loud chuckle from me. After laughing for a while, we realized something was wrong. I looked down at his leg and it was reddening a little where I had slapped it. His pants were down to his thighs. But luckily his shirt was long and covered him up. We finally realized something was wrong. As if he was squatting hay. I was busy covering my eyes and backing up into the corner. You go on. You go on. About the time after all that shock, some watery sounds finally came out. Just when he wasn't singing. Just when we had just been embarrassed. No one was too embarrassed to speak. The bathroom was so clear that even the sound of our breathing was unusual. He seemed to put on a soothing piece of music. Long and cozy. Finally. He seemed to take a long breath. Forget it. It's embarrassing to be in front of a girl for the first time. Then he got up nimbly and lifted his pants up. Embarrassed. Obviously he had finished solving it. He said it was embarrassing. He was like the scumbag who lifted up his pants and didn't recognize him. Just as my bladder was about to explode, the professor/advisor came back slowly. The locksmith opened the lock in 2 minutes. Professor/advisor patted me on the shoulder. Enjoying your time together? Liam Lin pulled over Professor/advisor's hand on my shoulder and took him a few steps forward. Dad. You're also too detrimental. A few days later, Professor/advisor approached me and told me that there was an exchange program at MIT for me. I gladly accepted and happily added the new professor/advisor. Emma Chen. What day can you come over? The first thing the new professor/advisor said was to urge me to come over. The professor/advisor of MIT should be very strict. Thinking about this, I felt that my dissertation would be in good hands. Anytime. Then come tomorrow. I promised myself that I would go, even if I was exhausted. The next day, I took a bus to MIT to report. According to the address given by the professor/advisor, I knocked on his office door. But it was Liam Lin who opened the door. Seeing me frozen in place, he patted me on the head. Emma Chen. Welcome to my team. I blinked my eyes. How can your WeChat name be Peace for Life? It's more or less unworthy of your age. He smiled. Because it's unique. I thought my new professor/advisor would be at least a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s. Contributing to the scientific research for life. But now, looking at the new professor/advisor, who is not older than me by 2 years, I can't say professor/advisor. He pointed to the seat across from him. signaling me to put my stuff over there first. I did as I was told. I just came here and I don't have any students. So you will be my first graduate student. Call me teacher first? Looking at him with a cheap smile on his face. I couldn't say teacher out of my mouth. After struggling for a while, I still gave up. I can't accept a teacher who goes to the bathroom in front of me. I turned around and sat directly on the seat opposite him, pretending to pack things, but in fact has been secretly glancing at him. He was instantly petrified at my words. His whole body stiffened as he walked back to his seat and sat down. Seeing that he was devastated, I planned to capitalize on my victory. Besides, that voice of yours is too low. More or less. His hands were shaking with anger, and it took him a long time to squeeze a few words out from between his teeth. Emma Chen. You're such a good student of mine. About the time I pissed him off on the first day, he started exploiting me like crazy. All the new teachers were busy with promotions and desperately needed research results. And Liam Lin was no exception. He often stayed up until 12 o'clock at night. And when I came to the office in the morning, he had already started working. After so many days of intense work, I finally got sick. I woke up feeling dizzy and thought it was nothing important. So I thought I would simply wash up and go to the office to work. But I couldn't stand up just after I got out of bed. Rushed to pick up the cell phone before I fainted. Dialed a number haphazardly. Only rang a bell and then connected. But before I could speak, I fainted. Wake up again. I have been lying in the hospital. Beside me sat a boy in a white shirt, who was in a meeting on his computer. It was Liam Lin. When he saw that I was awake, he took off one of my headphones and tucked me in. You're awake? I didn't dare to speak for fear of disturbing his meeting. I only nodded my head. You rest for a while. I'll have a meeting soon. I closed my eyes and listened to Liam Lin's magnetic voice pouring into my ears from time to time. It was an international meeting, and the whole meeting was in English. Although I was a graduate student who had passed standardized tests once, I still couldn't understand this level of communication. Not sure how it got turned on. He began to explain why he was in the hospital. A little curious, I probed slightly in the direction of his computer. Upon this look, I realized that he was opening a video. With my messy hair on top of my head, I locked eyes with the 7 or 8 foreigners on the screen. I watched their faces, which were serious and worried, slowly appeared to smile, all showing a gossipy look, and then kept talking about something. Liam Lin was wearing headphones. I couldn't hear the people on the other side of the screen. And even if I hear, I also have a hard time understanding. Liam Lin was asked before he realized the difference and gently looked at me sideways. He smiled at me and said, "She is my girlfriend." The person across from me suddenly started laughing and started gesticulating something with his hands. Hearing that, I didn't know how to react for a moment. It had been expedient to rip him off the street to meet the professor/advisor in the first place and lie about him being my boyfriend. He also occasionally joked that he was already boyfriend and girlfriend, even though it was a lie. But I still panicked when he declared his sovereignty like that in front of so many people. I pulled a probably not very good smile at the screen and eased back into the hospital bed. They rambled on some more useless nonsense before ending the meeting. Liam Lin turned off the computer and poured me a glass of water. Concern on his face. You always don't eat breakfast on time lately. Plus you stay up late with me again. Hypoglycemia. What do you mean stay up late with him? Talking as if I stayed until so late for him. I also want to go back to the dormitory early to swing ah. But the teacher does not leave. How can I have the nerve to go first? Oh. Please. Take care of me in your busy schedule. He frowned and touched my forehead. Why do I hear that from you? It's a bit shady. It's really not a good thing for a man to have a vivid imagination. And I wasn't being conspiratorial. Just a little less inclined to stay up all night. After a few bottles of water. I'm almost done and will be discharged in the afternoon. Liam Lin was really busy. And he kept dealing with things on the road. Looking at him busy, but also distracted to ask me how is my health. I actually began to feel a little bit sorry for him. Oh no. Heartache is the beginning of suffering. True to form. He actually forced me to move my office to the house he rented in order to make things easier for me. And he's also started working from home when he's not in class, with the pretense that it's easier to cook so he can prepare breakfast for me. But most of the time, I bought it on the way and brought it over to eat with him. After a few days, he said it was too much of a waste of time to come out of school every day and asked me to move out. I searched for an apartment for a few days and finally chose the one across the street from him. The day I met the landlord was a weekend, and Liam Lin gave me a day off. I waited for the landlord at the door for half a day and sent him countless messages before he finally replied. "I'll be right back." 2 simple words. Actually somewhat domineering. I turned back, only to see Liam Lin slowly opening the door to his room and walking towards me. He naturally pulled me to the side, holding a large bunch of keys in his hand, picking one after a long time and inserting it into the door lock. "Emma Chen. This building. A large part of it is owned by our family. If you marry here, it's all a bride price." This man standing in front of me suddenly towered over me. I looked at the house that was going to be my bride price and couldn't say anything. Liam Lin led me into the house, which had 2 bedrooms. He pointed to one of the bedrooms facing the sun and said, "This is the one I intend to rent to you. But you see, this house is so big. I am more or less losing money by renting it to you so cheaply. So can you accept to share the room?" I nodded my head. This house was indeed good value for money. And it was close to him. And being at the end of his exploitation, I could go home earlier. "So can you do it cheaper? It's probably a bride price anyway. So it's okay to bargain. Right?" He shook his head. "It's already cheap enough. But since you're my student and you're out renting an apartment, I should share some of it. I'll pay your rent." Good guy. This is not self-produced and self-selling it. Rent the house to me. And then get the rent for me. Directly lending the house to me to live is not finished. But also through the intermediary of this round of a number of agreements signed down. I did not earn no loss. But the agent is making a lot of money. You might as well just give me the agent's fee. It's not like you're losing any money." He nodded. "Not really." He nodded. "It's not that I have to go through an agent. I'm afraid that you won't agree if I let you live here directly. But you just said you're not an outsider?" Of course not. After all, the father and son raised me together. My original professor/advisor still gives me a monthly living allowance of $2,000. And my new professor/advisor is responsible for my food, clothing, and transportation every day. Yeah. You two are supporting me together. That night, I moved in. I had been packing my things for a while when Liam Lin messaged me. "Emma. Your roommate is here. He's at the door. Open it." Finding a roommate so quickly. He's too fast. I briefly packed up my things in the living room, hoping to make a good impression on my new roommate. I was just guessing what kind of girl she should be when I heard the doorbell ring. I opened the door and took out 2 towels as handkerchiefs to welcome my new housemate. "Welcome, Colleen." Before I could even say the word visit, I saw Liam Lin's big bags from the house across the street, all piled up on my doorstep. "What's this?" He looked at the towels in my hand and casually pulled one over and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "My dad just rented out the house across the street. And someone is coming to live there in a few days. So I'm staying with you for a few days since I got kicked out. Is this really appropriate?" "Ms. Lin? It's not really appropriate." He looked at me like he was flattered. "You used to call me Liam Lin. Now you call me teacher? It's too late. You can call me roommate from now on." I gave him a blank look. "I'm not calling you. I'm calling your dad." He ignored me and pushed all the luggage into the house by himself. I was sitting in the living room watching TV while Liam Lin was cleaning up. He was mopping the floor when he suddenly stopped and turned his head to look at me. "Do you still remember that you were my girlfriend?" I was overwhelmed by his question and froze, looking at him not knowing what to say. He sighed and pulled the mop into the bathroom. "It looks like you don't remember. Do you need me to refresh your memory?" I shook my head like a rattle. He didn't push me. Pursed his lips and smiled as he continued to clean up the house. In the evening, I was hugging my book and reading when my old professor/advisor suddenly sent me a message. M/Emma. Do you have time for a meeting? Although my current research topics are on Liam Lin's side. But after all, Mr. Lin is my real professor/advisor. Since he has a task to arrange for me, I definitely can't shirk it. Yes. Then, he sent me a conference number. I hurried into the meeting and found that there were only 3 people in the meeting. Me, professor/advisor, and Liam Lin. The name of the meeting was Progressive Research in Response to Liam Lin's Relationship with Emma Chen. Professor/advisor cleared his throat and said, "I'll turn on the cameras." I didn't want to. And lied. "My camera is broken. Teacher." Then Liam Lin came on. "It's okay. Mr. Lin. I'm with M/Emma. I'm going to get her." Before I could say that my camera was working again, Liam Lin was already knocking on the door. I had no choice but to sit on the bed with Liam Lin and look at professor/advisor on the other side of the computer. Professor/advisor was already smiling from ear to ear, straightening the pages around him. Given that Liam Lin and Emma Chen have known each other for a long time and have confessed to becoming boyfriend and girlfriend, this meeting will mainly be Liam Lin's responsibility to report on your progress. I awkwardly looked at Liam Lin, but saw that he had a serious face. He seriously opened the pile of documents he brought with him, then skillfully turned on screen sharing and opened the PPT. On the first page of the PPT were a few huge red letters. Liam Lin and Emma Chen Relationship Progress Report. He began to report skillfully. A little more serious than we were in a group meeting. Emma Chen is a beautiful, gentle, optimistic and cheerful girl. After I analyzed Emma Chen's personality, I found that she might prefer a gentle boy. Like Liam Lin. I can go to hell with you. This is too shameless. Looking at Liam Lin and old Lin's serious faces, I didn't dare to refute him. The more he talked, the more outrageous he became. From the explosion of the universe to the evolution of mankind, to the future development of science and technology. He was so eloquent, talking about it, that I was confused. Already do not understand too much. I took the file in front of him. The content inside is clearly organized. From our acquaintance to get along with the little bits and pieces are recorded. I looked at the notes he had taken carefully, and was a little touched in my heart. After about half an hour of speaking, he finished his report. The professor/advisor nodded happily. "Not bad. Not bad. I hope you continue to work hard. And next time we meet, hopefully you can bring me back a grandchild." I sheepishly ducked away from the screen. This was too soon. Liam Lin nods his head. It's better to respect a girl's opinion. Good. This meeting is over. You may leave. Finally over. I was relieved and wanted to get out of bed. But who knew that my clothes were hanging by the zipper on Liam Lin's pants? I withdrew too quickly. The clothes were torn open with a small slit. And Liam Lin was carried by my strength and lunged towards me. I touched my clothes. But fortunately the tear was not too big. So I wasn't naked. Turning back, I saw Liam Lin looking at me with a serious face. He lowered his head and got a few more points closer to me. Just when he was about to kiss me, he suddenly stopped. "Emma Chen, would you like to be my girlfriend?" After knowing Liam Lin for so long, I did fall in love with him over time. Especially that time when he told his foreign friends that I was his girlfriend. I was a bit moved. But Liam Lin is so nice. I am afraid I am not good enough for him. He has 23 size. I am hesitant to accept him. I was hesitating how to accept his confession when a voice suddenly came out from the computer. "Say yes to him. What are you waiting for?" Both of us were shocked. Especially Liam Lin, who was lying on top of me. He almost bounced off of me as he got up so hard that my clothes prickled again. Before I could react, I felt a cold breeze on my stomach. I scrambled to cover my stomach with one hand, and tried to grab the covers with the other. But they were already under me. And I couldn't pull them out after half a day of tugging. Liam Lin snapped the computer shut with a swift motion. The moment the computer was closed, the professor/advisor on the other side was still urging me. Say yes to him. Oops. Liam Lin. What are you doing shutting down the computer? I haven't finished reading it yet. This was another female voice coming out. Yeah. It's live. Don't turn off the computer. I looked at Liam Lin with some embarrassment. I saw his eyes darting around, looking at every part of the room but not at me. His ears were already red through and through. He rubbed his ears and got up off the bed. A few steps away from me. He withdrew. I finally dared to get up and wrapped myself in the covers. The session had been a handful and I was already sweating from the little time I'd spent there. Liam Lin isn't much better than me. The hair on his forehead is plastered to his face. Mr. Lin? I called him tentatively. Only then did he dare to look up at me. With my permission. He slowly walked over and packed up his computer and the papers had brought with him. Emma. My parents are a little overzealous. If you don't mind. Yes. They're a bit overzealous. But I feel happy to be recognized by professor/advisor and professor's wife. Although I don't know why they are so keen on having me and Liam Lin together. The fact that they are doing this shows that they are very willing to have me as their daughter-in-law. With such lovely two people. How could I mind? But what I mind most tonight is this dress of mine. What kind of quality is it? The zipper tore such a big hole when I hung it up. I blame the dishonest vendor at the online bargain store for almost making me naked in front of big professor/advisor and little professor/advisor and professor's wife. The more I thought about my clothes the angrier I got. Puckering my mouth and sitting on the bed without saying a word. Liam Lin packed up his computer and put it on a side table and looked at me carefully. Are you so angry? Yes. I almost gritted my teeth. What the hell? It's so shitty. Liam Lin blushed a little and came over to me. There's no need to say it so heavily. They're not so inferior. Right? I also know that this merchant doesn't have any malicious intent. Only some cutting corners. But today I almost walked out of here. I can't be angry yet. There it is. His eyes darkened a bit and he rubbed my head to comfort me. Then I'll tell them not to do it again. I looked at him with some admiration. I didn't expect their family to be so powerful. I only thought that professor/advisor was a college professor. I was already surprised to have so many properties. I didn't realize that even online bargain stores dishonest vendor. They are talking. Liam Lin was a bit flustered by my look and stepped back a bit. Why do you have some deep feelings in your eyes? Like when you know I have a lot of sigh? I moved over to him and reached out both hands from under the covers and grabbed his wrists. Mr. Lin. Then can you ask them to refund me? Refund? Liam Lin looked at me with big, puzzled eyes. I thought to myself. Still pretending. You have so many rooms. Are you still afraid of showing your wealth in front of me? You want to quit school? You want the school to give you a tuition refund? What's going on here? No. Didn't you say you'd talk to them and not sell black-hearted products? He was even more puzzled and frowned at me. What? Didn't you say that my parents were too much? It's all messed up. Both of them were completely off channel. He thought I was saying his parents were over the top. When I was simply talking about my 39.9-pound dress. No. I'm talking about my shitty clothes. He sniffed as his brow finally relaxed and he exhaled deeply. Scared the shit out of me. I thought you were dropping out. After the last meeting with professor/advisor, Liam Lin never mentioned chasing me again. However, all his behaviors showed that he likes me a little bit. I also admit that I have a crush on him too. But this kind of thing can't be raised by a girl like me. So I often give him some hints. For example, today, I cut him a heart-shaped watermelon. Mr. Lin, look at this watermelon. What does it look like? He stopped what he was doing and leaned lazily on the back of his chair, looking at the watermelon on the plate with a smile. Why did you cut the watermelon to look like an apple? If you want to eat an apple, I'll just buy it for you. I grunted angrily at him and lifted the watermelon to take a closer look at the heart I carved out. It's obviously quite similar. But the tip of the heart is a bit rounded. But the rounded tip of the heart represents that I have smoothed out all my edges because I love you. This method did not work. I changed another trick. I used up all my knowledge from the exam and took a formula for a heart-shaped line to him. Mr. Lin, look at how to draw this coordinate equation. He glanced lightly and gave me a meaningful look. Did you take the test on your own? I nodded. Then go and look up the textbook yourself. It must be there. The ruse failed again. As I flopped down on the couch to figure out what trick to use next, Liam Lin yanked me up from the couch. Emma, I have an assignment for you. He handed me 2 thick stacks of information. Take some time to look at these. They are the information I have compiled for your topic. And I have also found the innovative points of the topic myself. So organize them. Study them in depth. And try to write a first draft for me within a month. 1 month? Isn't that a bit too short? I've only just started my graduate studies. And the research on the topic is not yet very in-depth. Suddenly asking me to rush out a paper within a month is, in my opinion, impossible. Liam Lin thought for a while and nodded. It's a bit hard for you. He snatched the information back out of my hand and handed me another stack of information. I'm going to take this research to the competition. You write the proposal. It's also a 1-month deadline. Although writing the proposal was also difficult for me, it should still be easier than producing a first draft of a paper ready for SCI submission in a month. I jogged back to my bedroom with the information in my arms. We were busy for most of the month. I was busy with the competition, but had no idea what Liam Lin was up to. But it was obvious that he was much busier than me, often leaving the light on at 1 or 2 o'clock at night. I was a bit worried about his health and always tried to make him something to eat. The date of the competition was getting closer and closer, and the project I was working on was nearing completion under the guidance of Liam Lin. I took the first draft of my proposal and went to see Liam Lin to take credit for it. But when I pushed the door, I saw him packing his bags. Are you moving out? He paused in his packing and didn't even look at me. Do you know Mr. Zhang from the school? He was one of the students Liam Lin taught. And he stayed in the school. And their research team came to participate in this competition. And they sent a girl here. According to the seniority, she should be considered as your junior lab member. I think you are all girls. Let her come over and live with you for 2 days. But also a lot of company. And I am also your junior lab member. Besides, I'm also your junior professor/advisor. It's not good for your reputation if people know that I'm living with you. And those who don't know will think that we're having an affair. I thought I had let him down because of my poor performance during this period of time. And he didn't want to continue to take me on. I knew that he was doing it for my own good. But in order to let him feel my good feelings for him, I twisted my body. We had something going on. The corners of his mouth seemed to twitch and he raised a hand to cover his eyes. Don't do that. I'm not used to it. I gave him a blank look. It was unsettling. My junior lab member, who was a year older than me, came the next day and I picked her up. She just entered the room and couldn't wait to get on the bed. Division. She struggled for a long time, but did not shout out the word master. I can't let a person older than me call me uncle. Senior sister can call me M/Emma. She was then relieved. M/Emma. Your house is too nice. Yeah. And it could be my bride price. Sister Chowie is the best student in their class. The research team attaches great importance to this competition because it has a high gold content. If they can win the first prize, their teacher's research experience will be enriched a lot. Liam Lin also attaches great importance to this competition, because this is the first competition he has participated in. That's what he said. But I don't know why he was so relieved to give me the whole project. As the competition got closer and closer, I spent the whole day at Liam Lin's house across the street, working with him on the areas of the project that needed to be perfected. I have to say, since Liam Lin moved out of the house, I feel like I have no one to do my chores. now that Chowie is still at home. At least she's a guest and I can't let her do it. So all the chores fall on me alone. After he finished the last question, I started complaining to him again about how I didn't want to mop the floor. He was in a rare good mood and actually volunteered to take on the task of mopping my floors. I sleep late anyway. Early morning? 2 o'clock. I'll go clean up your house. At this time, Chowie must have already gone to bed. So I didn't even think about it and happily agreed. At 2 in the morning, Liam Lin did come. I followed him around and watched as he went about his business. Mr. Lin, do you think it looks like we are having an underground relationship behind other people's backs? He snorted coldly. What couple have you ever seen cleaning the living room in the middle of the night? As soon as Liam Lin's words left his mouth, the lights in the living room suddenly turned on. And the sudden light made me unable to open my eyes. Chowie's voice came out from the doorway of her room. You two? Together? I hastily shook my head in denial. He's here to accompany me to discuss my project. Discussing topics at 2 in the morning is even more fake than reading a script in the middle of the night. I touched Liam Lin with my elbow. He came back to his senses when I touched him. It's really a research project. He raised the mop in his hand towards Chowie's direction. It's about how to optimize the mop's mopping function. Chowie received a glass of water with skepticism. And didn't forget to instruct me before going back to her room. It's so late. Just discuss it. It's easy for people to misunderstand when you're a lone man and a woman. I nodded and pushed her back to the house. We couldn't continue to clean up the house after she found us. So I dragged Liam Lin into my house. So look at my proposal? He nodded and took out the USB drive he had with him, making a backup. He looked at it carefully. But I got sleepy when I got into bed and fell asleep in no time. When I woke up in the morning, Liam Lin had already left. I opened the computer and looked at the proposal. The format had been modified. It seems to be almost ready. Liam Lin had already submitted the final version of his proposal and was waiting for the preliminary examination to prepare for the defense. On the last day of submitting the proposal, Chowie approached me and stood in front of me with a frown on her face, holding her computer. Emma. My computer suddenly broke down. But if I don't submit my proposal today, it will expire. Can you lend me your computer? I didn't even think about it before I agreed. After all, there was nothing important on my computer. Soon it was the day of the competition. Liam Lin brought me to the competition venue early in the morning. He was wearing a suit today and looked very handsome. Not long after arriving at the venue, Chowie also came and greeted us enthusiastically when she saw us. Mr. Lin, I heard that you are the son of Mr. Lin from our school. Last time I saw you so suddenly that I didn't have time to greet you. Liam Lin nodded and smiled. It's okay. The last time I saw you was in the living room at 2 in the morning. So of course it was a bit sudden. Chowie squirmed and touched the hairpin on her head. Mr. Lin, you took the trouble to arrange my disgusting place. Why don't I treat you to a meal later? Liam Lin turned his head to look at me. Together? Chowie only said she was going to treat Liam Lin to dinner. She didn't say she was going to treat me. So I shrugged it off. I won't go. Liam Lin looked at Chowie. If she's not going, I'm not going either. Chowie pouted a little sadly. Okay. The order of the competition was soon announced. Chowie was second and we were fifth. The distance was very close. So I was hoping that we would be allowed to defend our case earlier, so that I could feel relieved when we finished early. But Liam Lin was not in a hurry at all. He said that we could see what level the programs in front of us were at when we were at the back of the line. Soon it was Chowie's turn. She used the projector to open her defense PPT. The PPT was concise and generous. But there was only one word difference between the topic and ours. I was puzzled and looked at Liam Lin, but found that Liam Lin did not fluctuate as usual. On the contrary, she smiled and put her head to my ear. It's bumping into the topic. Let's see how she did. However, the further back she went in the PPT, the more I felt that something wasn't right. Even if the topic was the same, I could still convince myself that it was a coincidence. But the design background, the design concept, the project process, and even the design data were all the same as our project. I was the only one who handled this project. And no one knew the whole design process better than me. Obviously. The project Chowie took as my project. I remembered that on the last day of submitting the proposal, she said her computer was broken and borrowed mine. It was also my fault for not being vigilant, as I was too easily trusting and always unwilling to speculate on others with malicious intent. I turned my head to look at Liam Lin and realized that he was still very calm and didn't seem to notice anything. Although it was his defense today. Could it be that he didn't even look at the content of the proposal carefully and that's why he didn't notice it? Liam Lin. This project and our. I didn't continue. Liam Lin glanced at me and then looked up at Chowie, who was in the middle of her defense. It's exactly the same, isn't it? I nodded my head vigorously. Almost on the verge of crying anxiously. What do we do now? 2 identical programs and we're still at the back of the line. He raised his hand and touched my head, giving me great comfort. Emma. No one knows this program better than you and I. Trust me. Okay? He said. His whole body was so gentle. And it was so reassuring when he said that. I looked at Liam Lin's confident look and finally put my heart down and nodded. It will soon be our turn. Liam Lin walked slowly to the front of the stage and opened the PPT, which was only one word different from Chowie's topic. The stage was in an uproar. And there was a lot of discussion about the topic. It was only when Liam Lin opened his mouth that the stage gradually quieted down. He talked about our design concept and design process, which were almost the same as Chowie's. The 2 judges at the bottom of the stage were exchanging ideas. 2 judges were talking to each other at the bottom of the stage. And I was close enough to hear a few sentences. I was close to them and only heard a few sentences. The similarity of their topics is too great. There must be plagiarism on one side. This is not easy to determine. I see that little girl just now. Her thoughts are also very clear. And she answered every question. Liam Lin turned over another page of PPT. And this page was something I hadn't seen before. I know that my topic and number 2 student's topic are duplicated. And the content is not too different. But after my research, I found that all the previous arguments are wrong. And we have ignored a very small but important factor. Listening to his defense, I realized how important this aspect I had overlooked was. What he followed was well reasoned and supported by experimental data. I don't know when he did these experiments. But Liam Lin's research skills are really strong. I peeked at Chowie's reaction and found that she was clenching her fists tightly. Her eyes scarlet as she looked at Liam Lin. This competition was broadcast live on the internet in real time. If she was really convicted of plagiarism, her future scientific research path would be considered broken. After hearing Liam Lin's defense, the judges on stage applauded. And the result was self-evident. For Chowie's professor/advisor's sake. They didn't say that she plagiarized. But we all knew it. I happily ran to Liam Lin. When did you do those experiments? He leaned over slightly, trying to match my height. I just saw you were about to cry your eyes out. So soon. I touched my heart. Scared the shit out of me. I thought we were done. He suddenly stood up straight and looked behind me. Go. Go over there. I turned my head and saw Chowie, who was touching her tears and packing up her things. When she saw us coming over, she busily lowered her head and grabbed her things to leave. Chowie. Let's have dinner together? She paused her body, about feeling greatly aggrieved, cried even harder and ran away. Liam Lin was in a good mood and looked at me with more affection today than before. She want eat. Let's go. It was only during dinner that Liam Lin explained to me why he had prepared for this. Halfway through my research, Liam Lin realized something was wrong. However, he didn't tell me. But let me continue. And he switched to another direction to see how different the final result was. In the end, he realized that my direction was completely wrong. But by that time, Yichao had already taken up residence. Her professor/advisor, Mr. Zhang, Used to be a bit of a fan of taking other people's ideas. And it was kind of the downfall of Lao Lin's teaching career. Although he wasn't sure that Chowie would do the same, he kept an eye out. "It's a good idea to take this competition to teach me a lesson," he said. "It's better to remind you 100 times than to take you to actual combat once." By the time I got back in the evening, Chowie had already emptied her things and went back to school. Liam Lin carried his stuff back again. I thought it was too much of a hassle to move it all in one trip. So I directly asked him to bring it over. He was in an exceptionally good mood these days, always looking at me and giggling. This night, he mysteriously pulled me to his computer. "I have a surprise for you." I was excited, deer in the headlights. He finally got the hang of it and planned to confess again. But I still pretended to be calm. "What's the surprise?" He pointed to the computer. "Open it." "It's not going to be a computer confession. Not even a flower." I was a little disappointed to open the computer, only to see the screen was the interface of the mail, which was densely filled with English. "I organized the competition project and submitted a journal. Although I gave you a second work." I turned my head and directly embraced him. "What's wrong with the second work?" "That's Saya. With the second work. Still worry about not having a first work. I don't know if he'll be able to win. I believe in you." I hugged him a little tighter, and he let out a long breath before hugging me tighter. Emma. He leaned over and whispered in my ear. "Remember when you said you'd take you to send out papers and your name would be Honey?" I nodded. "I remember. But I couldn't say it." He patted my head. "It's okay. Take your time." In the evening, I was happy with my big teeth bared when Liam Lin came in with a piece of cut fruit. Emma. "What does this watermelon look like?" The watermelon was a heart shape, like the one I cut for him last time. I deliberately pretended not to know. "Why did you cut the watermelon to look like an apple?" "I'll just buy you an apple if you want one." He sighed, putting the watermelon down. "Why are you still holding a grudge?" "It's in the shape of a heart." "A heart?" I let out an "oh," pretending not to care. "So the tip of this heart is very round." He nodded and plucked out a piece of the tip and fed it to me. "I've smoothed out all the edges because I love you." This is what I wanted to say to him originally. But how come hearing him say it just makes me feel all cold and embarrassed and my scalp hurts? Hello, cheesy. Extra. The first time I met Emma Chen was on the day of the graduate school defense. Because the distance was too far, I chose the online review. Coincidentally, old Lin had something to do that day, so he asked me to be his gatekeeper. That was the day I saw Emma Chen. Throughout the whole defense process, she was very relaxed. And even when she met a question she was not very familiar with, she would give her own opinion through her own thinking. What I can't forget the most is the moment when the defense was over. She smiled and said, "Tough luck to all the teachers." I seemed to be moved by such a bright girl. I gave her a high grade and asked my father to accept her as a student. I was abroad at the time, and was already preparing to return home. My dad intentionally put the commencement banquet after my return in order for me to meet Emma Chen. I was thinking about how to talk to her. But coincidentally, she hovered outside the restaurant door for a long time, and then directly pulled my arm. She said, "Handsome, do you have a girlfriend?" I was so happy, but I pretended to be calm. "No. Since then, we have crossed paths.